Barakada Yahweh, Barakada Yahabushai, Bahasham, Barakahak Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahabushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure unto the end. This is the Brother Ra'aya with another lesson. And in this lesson, I'll be profiling a little bit of this video from the Canadian Preppers YouTube channel titled Insider Tells All, Worldwide Government World War III Preparations on Massive Scale. And as we'll see in this video, governments, billionaires, and other groups out here are constructing deep underground bunkers and other safe locations because they can see that chaos is erupting all across the planet. We're on the brink of World War III, economic collapse, food shortages, civil unrest, martial law, etc., etc. And World War III is a part of biblical prophecy, and it's also a part of biblical prophecy that a lot of these groups of importance would go and hide in safe spaces, underground, in mountains, etc., etc., to try to ride out this coming chaos. This is Revelation chapter 6. I'm going to start at verse 12. And the header reads, "The sixth seal, terror. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake." And that great earthquake is talking about nuclear missiles being shot to the ends of the earth during World War III. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And in the scriptures, the sun can represent knowledge and the moon can represent wisdom. And when these nukes go to flying, that's going to be the end of the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of wickedness that Esau Edom, the so-called white man, has pushed onto this planet to have these people in a state of utter confusion. Verse 13, "And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind." And those stars can represent these different idols that, these Edomites, especially the elites, worship. And just everything that's upheld in this society is something to aspire to, being brought down to the ground with that nuclear fire. Verse 14, "And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together." And that's symbolic for that mushroom cloud, because what does it look like when it billows up and folds into itself? Like a scroll being rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And in the scriptures, mountains, hills, and stuff like that can represent these different governments out here. They're definitely going to be shaken up when nuclear missiles are shot to the ends of the earth. Hey, things aren't going to be business as usual. This current system and way of doing things you see right now is just going to be completely turned upside down. Verse 15, and here's the main point I wanted to get to. "And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men," your upper elites, like the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Gettys, the great men and the rich men, these billionaires like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and the chief captains and the mighty men, a lot of these generals and other higher-ups in the militaries across the planet, and every bondman and every freeman, because they're going to have, servants or slaves with them in their different hiding locations to serve them, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, mountain retreats, underground bunkers, etc., etc., and said to the mountains and the rocks, "Fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb." And who is him that sitteth on the throne? The Most High, whose true name is Yahweh, whom the world ignorantly refers to as a so-called God, and the wrath of the Lamb is his son, Yahushai, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus. Because while, you know, you'll have different people out here, even some, millionaires and other higher ups like that, see things at face value. Oh, World War III's coming, civil unrest is coming, stuff like that. I need to prepare accordingly and prepare my assets and my family and find and create safe spaces to be safe at. Best believe those at the very top, those elites, again, like the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, know exactly what's coming. They understand the scriptures and biblical prophecy, and they know that the second coming of the Son of the Most High is upon us. You have the prophets of the nation of Israel out on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles like this online. And they know that when the prophets of the nation of Israel are out prophesying, whatever kingdom they're prophesying in and against is about to come to its end. Hey, the chariots have had such an uptick all across the planet over these last couple of years, and all these people with smartphones are recording them and putting them online, that these different governments have to admit to their existence, which is something, people wouldn't have dreamed of hearing 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, that the government says that UFOs exist, and we do have footage of them. And of course, the nation of Israel is waking up. The nation of Israel consisting of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as the Israelite foreigners who look like these heathen nations. The powers that be see this, so, they're especially preparing accordingly. But at the end of the day, it's all futile, because you elites and a lot of you other higher-ups out there, you will survive these calamities of Jacob's trouble, World War III, and this nuclear destruction, because you're going to be the first fruits of slavery in the kingdom of heaven. Verse 17, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? Nobody shall be able to stand in the great day of the wrath of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. And just to back up what I was saying, that those at the very top understand the scriptures and know exactly what's coming. This is Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 43. The king of Babylon hath heard the report of them. And, in the scriptures, that virgin daughter of Babylon, Babylon the Great, is the biblical name for the United States of America. So the king of Babylon would be what? The president, Joe Biden, or whoever. And I will never forget this. During Donald Trump's presidency, when some, situation was happening, he posted it. He posted a tweet on Twitter, but it was quickly taken down, where he said, I guess the black Hebrew Israelites are happy to see, that we're tearing each other apart, speaking about these Edomites in America, which, for one, we're not the black Hebrew Israelites, we're simply the Hebrew Israelites. But hey, for two, that goes to show that this truth has reached the very tops of power. Hey, besides, Donald Trump mentioning the Israelites, you've had, Israelite celebrities like Kanye West and Kyrie Irving, even though a lot of them are set up for to demonize this word. They brought it up into the mainstream, et cetera, et cetera. So this word has definitely gone out here. But the ultimate king of Babylon is that hidden hand that runs America. Again, the elites, like the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. If a low level, Edomite compared to them, like Donald Trump, is speaking about the Hebrew Israelites openly, and damn sure if in their eyes, a nigger, a coon that they set up, like Kanye West and Kyrie Irving are speaking about the Israelites, best believe they know about it. And again, they understand the scriptures, and they can see that prophecy is taking place right before their very eyes. So again, the king of Babylon hath heard the report of them, and his hands waxed feeble. Hence why they're creating these underground bunkers. They have low orbit space stations. and even, undersea bases, luxury submarines to try to protect themselves from the wrath of him that sitteth on the throne and of the Lamb. Anguish took hold of him, and pangs as of a woman in travail. Hey, but like I just said, a lot of you elites and other higher ups are going to be preserved from this coming destruction of Jacob's trouble, just so you can serve as the first fruits of slavery in the kingdom of heaven. Shit. I was going to get into the video, but the Spirit's on me to just go through these precepts, which we're going to get into the video, but this is Amos chapter 9. I'm going to read verses 1 to 3. I saw Yahweh standing upon the altar, and he said, smite the lintel of the door, that the posts may shake, and cut them in the head, all of them, and I will slay the last of them with the sword. He that fleeth of them shall not flee away, and he that escapeth of them shall not be delivered. And those that are trying to flee and escape are these elites and other higher-ups, trying to escape the calamities of Jacob's trouble, but, trying to escape the wrath of the Lamb and him that sitteth on the throne. But what did it say back in Revelation chapter 6? That no one shall be able to stand in that day. And as it says in verse 1 of Amos chapter 9, they shall not flee away, neither shall they be delivered. Because when the dust settles, Yahushai, along with the 144,000 of the elect of the nation of Israel, who are fishers of men right now, out prophesying this word, are going to be hunters of men in that day in new spiritual bodies. Think about it like Superman. And they're going to go along with Yahushai to everywhere you elites and other higher-ups are hiding in, and drag you out by your hair and the scruffs of your necks like the rats you are, to slap those cold, hard iron chains on you. Verse 2, though they dig into hell, then shalt mine hand take them. And when you go into that word hell in the Strongs, it's Sheol, or the grave. So that's talking about underground, deep underground bunkers, which is what a lot of that video from Canadian Prepper is going to go into. Though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down, going up into a LEO, or low Earth orbit, in those space stations to try to escape. And we've had Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, as well as the Edomite who owns Virgin. They've all come out with so-called luxury space tourist programs. And I think the tickets run at around $200,000 and up, which, the average person out here can't afford. So who's that for? Those that are in the upper echelons of society. So we know that these, infrastructures exist and are being set in place. But as it says, hey, you won't even escape up in the heavens. Verse 3, and though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, which is a mountain. So what? Deep mountain bases. What did it say back in Revelation chapter 6? Hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. I will search and take them out thence. And though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea, undersea bases, luxury submarines, which you can look up, and they've also got undersea highways. Thence will I command the serpent, and he shall bite them. So you won't even be able to go underneath the sea. What was that book? 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea with Captain Nemo to escape Yahushai and the 144,000. And even Leviathan, that serpent, is going to get in some work on you as well. But let me see. Actually, thinking about one I want to get. Yeah, I'll go there before I go to Psalms 149. This is Psalms 139. This is Psalms 139, verse 7. And this is a psalm of David. And this was David speaking to the Most High. So how much more you elites out here who who are of the nation of Esau, Edom, the basest of men, the nation whom the Most High Yahweh created to hate. Psalms 139 verse 7. Whither shall I go from thy spirit, or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. And on one hand, King David is talking about, going to the spirit world, hey, where the Most High dwells, so we can't go up to heaven and escape. And you elites, hey, you can't, when you die, you go up into the spirit world as well, where the Most High dwells. So there's no escape there. There's no escape into the second heaven or space. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. In Sheol, the grave, underground, there's no escape there. And again, there's no escape in death from Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. No escape in life, etc., etc. Verse 9, if I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, anywhere on the planet, under the sea, you name it, there is no escape from Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. And like I've been saying, the reason you elites and a lot of you other higher-ups are going to survive these coming calamities is because you're reserved as the elect of slavery, the first fruits of slavery in the kingdom of heaven. But this is Psalms 149. I'm going to start at verse 4. For Yahweh taketh pleasure in his people, and his people only, the children of Israel. Again, your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. He will beautify the meek with salvation, beginning with the elect of the nation of Israel, the first fruits in the kingdom of heaven. And then after the wicked of our people are judged and put to death on this side, they're going to be reborn righteous through the elect into the kingdom of heaven under the new covenant. Fully. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. And when you're on your bed, you're what? You're at rest, because the nation of Israel is finally going to be at rest in the kingdom of heaven. We're no longer going to be in captivity, and righteousness through us instituting and enforcing the laws, statutes, and commandments onto the planet is going to reign supreme. Let the high praises of the Most High be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people. To have you heathens underneath our feet and get you back for everything you've done to us in these different captivities in the past all the way up until today. Every single heathen is going into hardcore bondage and slavery to build up the kingdom of heaven during the first 1,000 years of the kingdom of heaven. And again, the first fruits of that, the first crop of slaves to get their hands dirty is, as it's about to say in verse 8, to bind their kings with chains. Your elites, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, Oppenheimers, the DuPonts, the Gettys, the Carnegies, Aldriches, and their nobles with fetters of iron. Those lower luminaries beneath them, presidents, prime ministers, military generals, your Bill Gates's, Jeff Bezos's, to execute upon them the judgment written. Was it saying Revelation chapter 30, verse 16? All thee that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. All thee that have afflicted thee will I afflict. And all thee that have brought thee into captivity will go into captivity. I'm roughly paraphrasing, but as it also says in Revelation chapter 13, verses 9 to 10, he that have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity, which you Edomites have done to the nation of Israel, shall go into captivity. And he that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. And you Edomites and you other heathens have slayed a lot of Israelites throughout these different captivities ruling over us. So that's going to be paid back to you in the kingdom of heaven. But without further ado, let's get to this video. And I'm going to skip around in the video to a few different sections just to hit the main points. But this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes. I'm going to start it off at the 12-minute and 20-second mark.
Yeah, why would the government want to know where, Joe Blow was blowing carbon monoxide out of his bunker from?
Well, who knows? Maybe they want to find the enemy's bunkers. Maybe it's not for America.
I think that's probably what it is.
I'm sure that's what it is. But if you could use that technology to find a big bunker, you can use it to find a small bunker.
Sure.
And that's right. What would they care about people, a family hiding out in a bunker? But I'm sure they want to find the bigger bunkers.
And just to give a little background to what they're talking about how different government entities are trying to create sensors that allow them to detect different hidden bunkers out there.
By our enemies. And those bunkers are probably going to be pretty damn deep underground. And those ones I don't really know about. And those are going to be hardened structures. They're going to be made out of concrete with massive rebar, deep underground, tunnels, drive-in garages. I mean, I've been in them in Switzerland. They're crazy, these government bunkers. We don't have those kind of bunkers here in America, but boy, they built the hell out of them in Europe because of Russia, And now people are buying them, and the price on them has gone through the roof.
And hey, not just because of Russia, but not a lot of these higher ups know that America's getting foreclosed on, and they don't want to be anywhere near it. So a lot of them have their bug out locations outside of the United States of America. The Rothschilds aren't even located in America. They're located in the UK. But even during World War III, the UK is going to get some nuclear fireworks, so they're probably not even there anyway. And ultimately, America is not going to survive World War III. It's going to be completely wiped off the face of the earth by nuclear missiles. And the surviving heathens that are going into slavery are going to be in places like Europe, China, Russia, Africa, the so-called Middle East, and these other countries, which a lot of them are going to be hit with nukes as well, but they're not going to be completely, wiped off the map like the U.S., which, let's get that real quick. This is back in Jeremiah chapter 50. I'm going to start at verse 41. Behold, a people shall come from the north. And that's talking about that north country, Gog, in Ezekiel chapter 38. Russia, which is north of the United States of America. And like I've said in many videos in the past, it's a well-known fact that Russia shooting missiles from the north across that Arctic Ocean region, across Canada, and hey, as well as shooting nuclear missiles from their military installations, which they've been building up in that Arctic Ocean region to reach the United States of America, would be the shortest trajectory time for those missiles to reach the U.S. Behold, a people shall come from the north, Russia, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth, from the ends of the earth, different nations allying themselves under Russia, which is not just going to be China, Iran, North Korea, but also America's own allies, which at some point during World War III are going to turn against her and completely ally themselves with Russia and her allies. Revelation chapter 17, verse 16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, the 10 horns being the EU and the beast being NATO, these shall hate the whore that rides on the beast, Babylon the Great, the United States of America, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. They shall hold the bow and the lance, symbolic for those nuclear missiles, because when the prophets saw these visions thousands of years ago, they didn't know what a modern nuclear weapon was, so they had to describe it with what they had during their times: bows and arrows, spears, lances, you name it. They are cruel and will not shew mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon horses, everyone put in array like a man to the battle against thee, O daughter of Babylon, that virgin daughter, Babylon the Great. And when you go to Psalms 137, verses 7 to about 9, you will see that the Edomites are synonymous with the daughter of Babylon. But now I'm going to jump up to verse 40, because like I just said, America is not going to survive World War III. As the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, and besides being known as Babylon the Great in the scriptures, the U.S. is also known as spiritual Sodom and Egypt, as pursuant to Revelation 11, verse 8. And that's very easy to see. This is the number one nation that pushes that alphabet lifestyle through its social media, geopolitics, economics, etc., onto the face of the earth. As the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, saith Yahweh, and how was ancient Sodom and Gomorrah overthrown for its wickedness, with fire and brimstone from the sky. So this modern day Sodom and Gomorrah is going to be overthrown with that modern fire and brimstone, 200 million nuclear missiles. So shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. When those nukes hit this place, it's going to be turned into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards where man, woman, or child will never set foot on ever again. And after a time, only desert creatures are going to dwell here, as it says in verse 39. Therefore, the wild beasts of the desert with the wild beasts of the islands shall dwell there, and the owls shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, point blank, period. And just, keep that fact in mind, because in some of the later segments I'm going to get to in this video, the guy, Atlas Survival Shelters, I don't know his name, that Canadian prepper's interviewing, he's going to make a point about, contingency plans and continuity of government after a major catastrophe. But he doesn't understand the scriptures because, again, the United States of America will not survive World War III in these nukes.
People are buying them and fixing them back up, where you could have bought one of these bunkers for a couple $100,000 just 5 years ago. Now these people are asking $1.5, $2.5, $3.5 million for the exact same bunkers because of the war going on in Russia. And if you can get it, but it's supply and demand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty high profile people are coming to you to build bunkers. How different do you think the capabilities that you bring to the table are from what the government has? I presume that the government's a lot more capable. They can bring in all kinds of industrial equipment that we probably don't even know exists yet. But I was surprised by some of the people that you build bunkers for. These are pretty high net worth individuals. Not to say that you're a small operation by any stretch of the means, but you know what I mean? I would think that these billionaires would have the means to go pretty big, right?
Well, let's say you're Zuckerberg at Facebook. Just because you're him and you're a billionaire, you can buy anything you want. Doesn't mean you have to put $10 million in bunkers. Bill Gates did 11 bunkers at $5 million apiece. So he's got one at every single one of his properties. So there's $55 million. But you take somebody like Zuckerberg, he bought that land over in Hawaii.
Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, what? And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, to bind their kings with chains, and their nobles with fetters of iron. And if anybody knows anything about what's going on out here, best believe it's BG, the real BG, which we can clearly see from his on-hands, involvement in 2019 to 2021, and even going on till today. And Mark Zuckerberg, of course, so-called owns Facebook, which is nothing more than a face, a public face, a friendly face for the FBI and the CIA. But now I'm going to go to the 16-minute and about 13-second mark. If I can get there, so I have to start right here.
I've got some land, I've got a bunker, and I got a bunch of guns.
What went wrong?
Damn,
between
man.
us?
We drifted apart.
Slovakia.
And you did start.
So I always ask you every time you're here, what's the biggest project you're working on right now?
The one in Europe,
That's the
2,000 people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and that's just phase one. Yeah, that's just phase one.
That's in Romania or
Italy.
Italy, right?
Yeah.
Why Italy?
Italy hasn't built bunkers since World War II, and the government decided that they need to do bunkers for
themselves.
for themselves, and then private. So it's a joint private government venture. It's a private contractor doing it, but the government has already bought the space in the bunker.
Is it It's an open secret?
Yeah, no, it's not an open secret, but it'd be equivalent like going to Wembley Stadium and watching a football game and not even know that the big ass bunker in London is right underneath the stadium. I mean, that is the.
Hey, everybody's getting prepared for all hell to break loose. From governments to billionaires, the kings, the rich men, the great men, the mighty men, the nobles. Let's see with that part. Now I'm going to jump to the 19-minute and 12-second mark.
I mean, as cameraman might think we're feeding him a line here, but
Yeah.
I will say in the past, they've disclosed, they've declassified bunkers built right underneath government buildings or, restaurants.
That's
and
that
shit like
bunker. That's not ground zero. This is
No. I'm just saying as an example
Yeah.
to validate your point
Yeah.
about how they do this, right?
Yeah.
In plain sight, because that would make perfect sense. When you're building a huge stadium or something, just, kind of throw it under. Nobody's going to really, but they must though, because that would there would be a lot of people working on that that would have to keep their mouth shut.
They have a contingency plan. What's that movie where they all show up in those big giant ships, the Noah's Arks, and then three ships get.
Sure. 2012.
Yeah, whatever that was. I mean.
And I saw that movie, and only the highest of the highest of the high, the most important people, billionaires, high government officials, stuff like that, rich men were able to get a ticket to make it on those mega ships in 2012. That's an example of predictive programming, that black magic where the elites show you what their plans are to let the majority of you people, you goyim, you useless eaters, suffer while they and those they deem a benefit to that new world they want to build are brought to these different safe spaces to ride out the coming destruction. But as we went into with those scriptures, a lot of them are only going to survive so they can build up the true new order, the kingdom of heaven.
That's the contingency. The whole world was killed except those people on those three ships.
But how do they
Denver
keep
bunker is the contingency plan for 50,000 people.
How do they keep it secret? All the construction workers working on it, one of them must slip up when they're drunk. Hey,
Well, they do slip up.
Is that what happened in your case?
Yeah.
And a little bit before there and here, this guy, Atlas Survival Shelters, is talking about how underneath the Denver airport, there's a massive bunker with highways and tunnels and all that, and that they're planning to use that as the number one place to rebuild society after a coming calamity, which, as we read back in Jeremiah chapter 50, America, the daughter of Babylon, isn't surviving World War III or this nuclear destruction. So, like I was saying earlier, hey, he errs not knowing the scriptures. But now I'm going to jump to the last little part at the 20-minute and try to get 20-minute and 55-second mark.
My understanding is, I shouldn't be talking about this, but you got the Denver airport, and then there's like 2,000 miles of tunnels.
I don't think you're getting back into the country into your...
Probably not. But you have the Denver airport bunker. Then you've got one over near Arizona, okay, near Phoenix, or it's near Phoenix, I believe. And then there's another one here, but there's like 7 of these bunkers, okay? And they're all connected by tunnel. And you can travel to all of them by high-speed train or however it is underground. Okay, but there's like 2,000 miles of this stuff, if I remember right, but they're all connected. You don't have to come out of the ground again.
Before we proceed here, because I know some people are kind of rolling their eyes, I will say...
Which is all futile because, again, anybody that is not of the elect of the nation of Israel in America when those nukes hit, no matter how deep underground they are, hey, you're missile food. So shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. But if they've got such complex, structures like this to try to ride out a societal collapse in the US, think about what they're like in other countries, in places where people actually are going to survive the coming destructions and the calamities of Jacob's trouble, World War III.
When you think about, we know.
Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't we have this?
Of course, the government would have some secret bunkers.
Why wouldn't they have this?
So it's just a matter of where are they?
Have you not heard about this?
How big are they?
Have you not heard about the seed vault?
Sure, I have.
Okay,
Yeah,
why would they have a seed vault?
Because the world's going to end, and they got to have.
That is how they replant the earth. Why would there not be a Noah's Ark situation in the world? That's Denver.
Yeah.
That's what I've been told. That is.
Hey, the king of Babylon hath heard the report of them, and pains and terrors and anguish hath taken hold of him.
It is at a high altitude.
It's at a mile high. Tidal waves won't get to it. The ground was solid. That's where they built it. Okay.
It's almost geographical center of the United States.
Yeah, and the people that can get in there, they already know who they are. That they can't talk about it. If you're getting in there, it's because you bring something back to this world. But if we get hit by a meteor,
The great men, the mighty men, the rich men, the kings of the earth.
you think the governments, we're just going to all die? You don't think they have a plan and a place to go? It's not going to be the Greenbrier or someplace like that, one of those government bunkers. That's not made to sustain for 7 years or 5 years, whatever. This bunker is for like 50,000 people for like 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. I forget because I haven't talked about it in so long with the people. But it's made to keep people there for years, okay? And thank God we have there is a place like this, because if this does happen, if we get hit by a meteor, do you not think we'll be hit by a meteor again one day?
We ain't getting hit by no meteors. Only thing that's coming is those nuclear missiles, and you can kiss the Denver airport and its deep bunkers that go to Arizona and these other places goodbye. I'm just letting them talk, just to show that these things do exist. Deep underground bunkers and other safe places that the higher-ups in society are going to go to, and that it all lines up with biblical prophecy.
I, for one, want Joe Biden and all his family to survive and me to die. Someone has to live, right?
Well, anyway, but thank God there's a place like this, because I don't know of another place on earth that's been described to me as this Noah's Ark bunker.
Well, they got to have something in China. They got to have something in Russia. They got something in the Yamamoto Mountains or whatever the hell it's called, the mountain complex there. I'm sure they got something. I mean, it's Russia.
You would think they would, especially the Chinese, because they like big earth projects. But they have these bunkers in China that they'll put in a 25-foot diameter.
Hey, a lot of the Chinese, who are the biblical Moabites, and a lot of those Russian Edomites are going to survive, because they're going to be a massive bulk of the slaves, underneath the elites in the kingdom of heaven. But that's it with this video. Now I'm going to close it out in Isaiah chapter 11, just to back up the statement I made. This is Isaiah chapter 11, verses 10 to 14. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. And who came out of Jesse? King David, King Solomon, all the way down to Yahushua, the son of the Most High. So that root of Jesse, the branch, that vine is Yahushua, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To which shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. That's not talking about the heathen Gentiles. That's talking about Israelites living in a Gentile mind state, which back during Yahushua's time, you had Israelites living, in the different nations, under the time of the Greeks. A lot of them fell off and became Grecians. A lot of them, were living as Romans, etc., etc. But, when Yahushua and the apostles, especially through the apostle Paul, came on the scene and started preaching of Yahushua, that's when a lot of those scattered Israelites woke up, back to their identity as Israelites and came back into the fold. But now today, after the entire nation of Israel fell off from our identity, read Jeremiah chapter 17, I believe verse 4. We are those Gentiles, and beginning with our apostles and elders, and they're, elders. Hey, we've heard this word and woken up and come out of that Gentile mindset like in the past, and it come back to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, that root of Jesse, that ensign of the people, and what his rest is. It will be glorious. The elect being saved and being that first fruits in the kingdom of heaven. Hey, let the saints be joyful upon their beds at rest. Verse 11, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea, from one corner of the earth even unto the other. And when you read Deuteronomy chapter 28 around verse 64, one of the curses for our disobedience was that we would be scattered to the ends of the earth and live like these heathens and worship their gods. So what the elect scattered all across the planet, being gathered back, into the fold. Verse 12, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Hey, the Israelites of the southern kingdom, the so-called Negroes, Haitians, West Indians, Jamaicans, and the northern kingdom, so-called Latinos and Native Americans, as well as our people that are living in these other heathen nations. Hey, the elect are going to get beamed up onto the chariots. And then it also says, that the heathens are going to bring, once the elect come down and are back in the Holy Land, that the heathens are going to bring other Israelites, boys, girls, children, stuff like that upon their shoulders, upon, carts and baskets, back into Israel. Verse 13, the envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and Ephraim is the head of the northern kingdom. So that's talking about the northern kingdom as a whole. And the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off, Judah being the head of the southern kingdom, so-called Negroes. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. So all 12 tribes back at peace, no longer having that evil eye towards each other, in harmony in the kingdom of heaven. And that's beginning right now with the elect from all 12 tribes showing that brotherly love towards each other again. Hey, the breaches being closed up, as it says, I believe it is back in Amos chapter 9, verse 14. Here's the main point I wanted to get to. But they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines toward the west. They shall spoil them of the east together. They shall lay their hand upon Edom and Moab, the so-called white man, and the so-called Chinese. And what's in the east? Russia and China, and the children of Ammon, so-called Japanese, shall obey them. So us enslaving the remaining heathens after World War III so they can begin that first 1,000 years of the kingdom of heaven, building it up. And the first fruits of slavery are going to be you elites, you kings and nobles and rich men and great men who are creating all these elaborate, complex bunkers and other safe spaces to ride out the coming destruction of Jacob's trouble, World War III, nuclear destruction. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharallah, and until next time, Shalom.